Hello. We are so excited for another episode of our Voices of Persevere podcast here. My name is Emma. I am a volunteer manager, outreach coordinator, and I work on our marketing team here at Persevere. And as always, I am accompanied by my co-host, Jake. Jake, do you want to say hello?
Hey, it's great to be here. Excited about the opportunity to visit with Jessica and Emma. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Yes, thank you so much, Jake. And Jessica, our guest for today. I'd love for you to take a little minute to introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are.
Hi, my name is Jessica Dickerson. I am a graduate of Persevere, one of their pilot programs in Arizona. I am also a former teacher from Persevere and a current employee in the tech industry. I'm also on the board of directors for Persevere. I
So
currently
many things.
also do volunteering. I don't know what else I do. There's
So much to keep up with. No, thank you so much for being here, Jessica. We really appreciate your time today.
happy to do it.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Jessica, as we get started, right, the goal here is just to share your story and to talk about all of the great things you're doing and to give people hope. So, can you kind of just walk us through a little bit before Persevere, right? Where were you in life, and feel free to share whatever's comfortable, but just kind of walk us through what life looked like before Persevere.
Well, just like the very brief overview of what brought me into Persevere's line of sight would be I was an addict for many years. I went down the same road that a lot of people do. I was prescribed something by my doctor for chronic pain, and we all know how that goes. I was given opiates, and it was downhill from there. Because I'm super smart, that somehow ended up migrating to meth. And then, life went from there. I ended up homeless multiple times and ended up in prison twice. And the second time, I made the decision through many factors that came into that I was done. Ended up teaching while I was in prison, and that's when I came across the flyer for Persevere. They were targeting it at certain groups, people who were more likely to want to pursue that avenue, and I was one of them.
You just mentioned teaching, which is kind of where I would love for us to go next, because I know we had an earlier conversation and you mentioned that during your time you became a teacher in the prison and helping people through that 8th grade proficiency test in Arizona. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Okay, awesome. What was it that kind of inspired you to start teaching? And the reason I ask that is because one of the things that we have noticed through the many interviews that we've been able to do is so often we talk to graduates where they get involved with Persevere, but it's not their first time getting involved. You know, they have been in prison and they think this is my time to maximize, right? What are some of the resources? What are the things that I can get involved in? And I just find that to be so interesting that already there's this drive, this kind of initial motivator before people really even walk through the door of Persevere.
Well, there were two things that led me to teaching. One was the instructional facility was right next to the library, which I kind of lived in. So it was definitely in my line of sight. But also you're required to have a job. So I knew I was going to have to work somewhere. I didn't want to just do to working in the cafeteria. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it wasn't what appealed to me. I wanted to do something that made me feel valuable, that made me feel like I was doing something for others. It wasn't about making money for me. It's like, what you really can do with money in prison anyway. So I asked everybody I could possibly think of. The instructor was preparing for class one day, and I went in there and said, "Hey, do you want to hire me?" And just pushed for that. Said, I know all of this. I'm really good with English lit. I'm really good with grammar. I'm really good with math. Just give me a job. And I asked him for a couple of days until he finally said, "Fine, just come work and I will just leave me alone."
I can't even picture you advocating for yourself. What?
And no, I have never been super loud about what I want to happen.
I wanna take a step back for just a second. Jessica, your story is a little unique. Number one, I mean, you have a psychology degree. You're extremely educated, very intelligent, very a quick thinker. You had basically no tech background at all walking in. So, what made you say, you know what, this program is right for me?
Two things. First, I knew that with my psychology degree and a felony, I could do precisely nothing.
Uh,
I mean, it would take a lot of time and effort to be able to be in a position where I could do anything with my psych degree, and would probably require me going back to school and taking on more student loans. And that's not
yeah.
exactly appealing. So I'm still paying those student loans. But also, even though I was, out on drugs and doing bad things, I did pay attention to our economy. And I knew that the big money was in tech and all the big companies were tech companies. So the idea of being able to get into that and make a lucrative future for myself and support my son and support myself without anybody else trying to do it for me
Yeah.
was very appealing.
You had mentioned that when you went in for your interview with Persevere, well, you had mentioned when you applied, it was kind of like, I'm not sure if this is going to be the next step. Then you got the interview, and you walked into that interview, and you said when you walked out, you pretty much knew, like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in this. Walk us through that, what that felt like, because I think also when we were talking, it was so nice to just hear your confidence, not only in the interview process, but you also talked about the fact that when you started class, there wasn't really a getting used to it, period. Everything just made sense for you from day one. Walk us through the process from applying, interviewing, and then this like immediately felt right.
I've never been shy. Like, I think that comes across pretty clearly with anybody I talk to. So going into the interview, I was able to build rapport quickly. I generally feel like that in interviews. I don't mean to come across as egotistical or anything, but I can communicate well. So I knew at the end of that interview that I had gotten my point across, that I had impressed the interviewers, and that I was going to get into the program. I was, of course, right. I hate saying it that way, but it was. And yeah, it was easy. And to be fair, the first couple of stages in the Persevere class are easy. It's HTML and CSS, which are not enormously difficult to pick up. The lift is not much. But when I got to JavaScript, which is when the complexity kind of jumps off a cliff, it's not like I looked at it and everything made sense immediately. It was that the challenge was fun. So it was never something where it felt like a burden to go through classes. It was fun to work it out and then have the light bulb moment and go back and keep trying more, and then get into another mess and have another light bulb moment. So it's not that everything immediately clicked. It's that making it click was not work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense.
Well, and even this kind of goes to your innate internal drive. I mean, here was this 12-month program. You graduated in 7 months and then got out early, right? So just kind of talk to us about, not only are you entering a new space, but then, I mean, you just blasted right through it. So talk to us about what pace looked like day to day. I mean, you must have been eating, sleeping, and breathing this stuff.
Yeah, I also was really annoying to my instructors. I'll say that right. Yeah, I was told within like 2 months of starting the program that if, as soon as I finished, they would start processing me for release. And I was like, oh, really? Cool. Well, and went in and talked to my instructors and said, this is what I've been told. What can I do? And so they just told me, we're not going to put any brakes on you. You go fast. You go as fast as you can manage, um, which was lovely. But then unfortunately, COVID happened. So like the whole process was, I was there all day, and I would spend that entire time, eat, sleep, drinking code. And that's all I would do. And again, being very irritating, I would say, asking my teachers at least once or twice a week, am I on track? When am I going to get to graduate? How is this feeling? Am I good? But then after class would end, I would try not to think about it, because there's only so much the brain can take. And I was already pushing myself so hard that I would try to just, walk the track and read a book and talk to friends and not think about code. So,
I think that's a good lesson for anyone, and that's something, of course, we all learn, right, when we're doing any sort of studying or any sort of heavy work, right? It's like certain points you got to go take a 15-minute break. Get away
yeah.
from the computer, give your eyes a rest, your brain a rest. But you mentioned COVID and kind of the obstacle that presented, but it really didn't seem to present too insane of an obstacle. Again, you still graduated within 7 months. But I want to move into a different obstacle that we also had talked about previously. And you were pretty candid about this. And I know it's an experience that I would argue majority of people who have been justice involved have faced at some point in their life, which is getting a job offer pulled, after going through the process, after getting hired on. And you even mentioned that you were very candid and upfront about your record, right? So talk us through that. What was that experience like? And how did you navigate that disappointment?
I was on contract work for about a year and 9 months, almost 2 years. And my contract ended, which, as anybody who's been on contract work understands, it just happens. There's no shame in it. It just happens. So I had to find another job. And I mean, you'll hear this a lot in my story. I was really lucky that I got in contact with a recruiter very quickly who had a job that aligned with my skills. And I told her from moment one, hey, this is my background. This is what you will find. This is what will be returned on any background check. And she said, cool, I'm going to have you apply for this opportunity. I applied for it, told my first interview, hey, this is what is on my background. This is what you will find. Because I mean, I had an apartment to pay for. I knew I needed a job and I didn't want anything falling through. And so I did the application process, the interview process. It went really well. Like I said, I interview well. And so they did give me a job offer. That was for $90,000 a year, which after being in prison and then having contract work, which did not pay $90,000 a year, let me put that out there right now. It was amazing to get that. I told my son about it, obviously, and I knew I'd be able to keep my apartment, which was very important to me. And then a week before I was supposed to start, after they'd already sent me equipment, monitors and everything, I got the call in the morning from the recruiter saying, HR has decided to pull the offer because they don't like what's on your background. I mean, I didn't use, so that's one benefit of how I handled it, which I could have. I mean, we all know how to find it once we've used it for a long time. I just coped by putting a plan in place. I'm not really much person to panic. I'm action oriented. So it's like, okay, this has happened. Can't do anything about it. What am I going to do next? So I mean, the worst part was telling my son that the job offer had been pulled, because like very important to me to model to him how to be a happy, functioning, safe, and independent adult. But then I called Stephanie Morales, who was a program director at Persevere. I don't believe in burning a bridge. So, like, she was still definitely in my contacts. We were still very good friends, and told her what had happened. And it just happened to be that there was a job offer, like, there was a job opening at the prison that I formerly was incarcerated in for an instructor. And she asked me if I wanted to apply. Obviously, I did. Uh, and it was an urgent opening. So I started on the same day that I was supposed to start the old offer. Uh, there's a lot, but worked out.
Yeah. I just think valuable lessons throughout that entire story, from how to cope with disappointment,
Mhm.
especially I would say massive disappointment like that, how to be an example for your loved ones, your family, be kind of that rock and that strong person, how to navigate from there, being action oriented and not panicking, all the way from not burning a bridge, using your network. Can't undersell how important that is
Yep.
in any job market.
Yeah.
Sure. I've got to ask, right? I mean, so here you were, a student in this classroom, you get out, and, in a matter of no time, you're walking back into the exact same classroom, but now you're the instructor for it. What did that feel like?
Also, not the first time that we've interviewed a graduate where that has been a story, surprisingly. Let me just say that too.
Disorienting. That would
Uh,
be the word mostly, because I was mostly a remote teacher, but there were days that I did have to go onto the property. The class was in one room, and then I had an office around the corner, so I'd have to walk around the office, and I'd have my keys on me. And there were multiple times when I would feel like there was someone walking behind me, because I would hear the keys
oh,
and be transported back in my head to hearing guards walking behind me. So I would feel like essentially I was chasing myself. So that was great. It it never felt right to me to have those keys. I always felt like an imposter, but teaching was wonderful. It was
uh.
lovely to connect with a new group of women and try to help them nurture their dreams. But being on prison property, that was awful.
Yeah, I'm sure. And, going from being a teacher kind of navigating the complexities of that being a place that you previously were incarcerated. You also mentioned you did some work as well as you were teaching, right? You juggled that. What pushed you to juggle that instead of just choosing one of those things?
I mean, honestly, I wanted to make more money.
Yeah.
Like, it is no secret in the United States that teaching is not a very lucrative profession.
Yeah.
Let's be super real. And I wanted to make more money. I wanted to buy a house. I wanted to put my son through college because I'm still paying off my student loans and I don't want him to have student loans. Uh, all the things. It was really important to me. So while I was teaching Persevere's boot camp, I did another boot camp
Yeah.
to help me get into a new job. And it did. It happened to lead to an interview opportunity with the company that I work for now, which was amazing. And I got the job, obviously, because I'm still here.
Yeah. And I guess I would see that more as professional development, right? You're teaching, but you're also doing something that is going to be professional development for you as you continue. And to me, professional development is always a good thing. Taking that additional boot camp, maximizing and continuing to advance your skills. Because you did know, you had mentioned to us teaching wasn't your ultimate goal. It was a great stepping stone. And I think that's how we have to look at our career paths, as all stepping stones to the next thing, right? So you were able to take that professional development opportunity, which opened up your world to where you're at now. Walk us through, what do you do now? What is your day-to-day looking like?
I work for a company called Gusto. We are a business that serves small businesses. So we do payroll and benefits for small businesses. I work on the benefits side. Uh, so I code all the things that make y'all's benefits work. When somebody works with Gusto, all the things that allows them to sign up and get all of their health benefits, their dental, whatever. My team specifically is enrollments, which is exactly what it sounds like. When you want to enroll with a benefit, yeah, it's me. Yeah, it's a good time.
Awesome. Awesome. So in this new role, Jessica, are you still doing a lot of coding? Is it more tech adjacent, or are you still deeply involved in software?
Oh, I am deeply involved in software. I would not say I do a lot of coding though, because AI is a thing.
Yeah.
So our job has really changed a lot. That I don't write much of like the actual code. I do the supervising, and I do the making sure the code is right, and I do the tech specking. I do the deep dive to make sure the surround that the code is working in is correct. Because as anybody who has tried to pick up multiple coding languages knows, the code is kind of not the point. You can write it in whatever language you want. It's understanding what is happening. It's the architecture. It's understanding how all the pieces work together. That's what is important in software engineering. It's also the hardest thing to learn oftentimes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I still do.
So, I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the digital room, right? AI is the buzzword.
Yeah.
And so everyone that I have met who is currently in the space has their opinion about AI's place in the space. So, what are your thoughts? Give us your expert opinion.
I am a user of AI who is AI skeptical.
Okay.
I understand that it's not great for the environment. Not much I can do about it. My job requires that I use it, so I do that with that in mind. AI is a wonderful tool, but it is a tool. I was just talking to someone in management literally earlier today, and we were talking about the fact that our jobs aren't going anywhere because AI is lovely. It's really dumb. It can't do things by itself. It lies. It makes things up. It doesn't understand context. Even when you write a skill for AI, it will read the skill and then lie about what was in the skill, and then tell you that this is what the skill said, and you say no, it didn't because I wrote it. Sorry, still mad about that. It happened 2 days ago. My point being that AI is wonderful. It helps me move faster, but I am still required. I know that there's a lot of fears out there that AI is going to take all of our jobs and software engineers aren't going to be able to get a job anymore. I don't think that's true. And I think the market bears that out. There is, an uptick in employment now as people have started realizing, oh, we can't just fire all the software engineers.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And maybe in 10 years, it'll be a different story. But hopefully in 10 years, I'll be doing something else.
Well, transitioning out of more of the technical conversations, which are typically over my head, you are someone, as we've mentioned today, right? You can be a people person. You can read a room. Tech skills aren't just enough in even in a tech job, right? Communication and oftentimes your personality and the soft skills that you bring are really what'll get you hired. On top of those skills, the skills are important, and I'm not trying to say that they're not. But if you don't kind of have that well rounded view, it will make it harder. So, where did you learn how to read a room? You talked about even mirroring in interview spaces. I'd love to have you expand upon how you navigate more of the personal elements of a tech career.
Um, a lot of what I have as far as communication goes is really due to the background that I have. I'm well educated, especially unfortunately compared to a lot of my peers that were incarcerated with me. It is an unfortunate fact of life that there are a lot of people who have not been given the advantage of a lot of education or good education, or they were derailed by addiction or what have you. So a lot of my communication skills came from that, from being in the honors program in high school, from going to university, from, all of the things. Also having an educated family.
Yeah.
That's not something that I can say, hey, I did that. No, that was something that was done for me. My mom was a college professor, so was my father. And I have forgotten the rest of the question.
No, I think you honestly answered it right. I mean, I do. I think access, right? You talk about you having access,
Yeah.
you coming from a family background where a lot of those things might have already been instilled and taught to you. Having those people in your life, and I say that, well, I'll have conversations with people too, similarly. It's a huge privilege, right? That
It
we've
is.
had to have a background where you have family who can help guide you or people in your life who can help guide you and point you in the right direction or show you what those skills should look like and mirror them for you. So no, I actually think you answered the question perfectly. And I think it's a really important conversation to have for sure. So
I mean, just to add on to that, given what AI has done to the way that we work now, I think it's even more important how you communicate, not just in code, because I code through natural language. I code in English. I tell my AI what to do. I tell an agent what to do. If I don't have clear communication skills, I am no longer able to communicate to the agent. So
Yeah.
everything breaks down.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jessica, I want to switch gears about something else that's just amazing about what you do. You went through as a student and then you became an instructor. And even now, as you've moved on to Gusto, you're still on our board and you are routinely volunteering and dedicating yourself just out of the goodness of your heart to projects and initiatives where you can give back to people, right? I remember when we visited originally, you said that prison was a hopeless place. That was really powerful because I, there are just very few places in the world where I would say this is hopeless. But I think I agree with you, right? What does it mean for you, right? You're very plain spoken, you tell it like it is, and a lot of times that can come off as callous or crass, but you're one of the most generous people that I've ever read about or watched or visited with. What does it mean to be one of the people who shows up and gives hope when a lot of times you felt like you didn't have that hope or you were in an environment where hope was not predominant?
Well, first, thank you. And then when I first started with Persevere, it was a very new program. So while the people that were employed with the program were lovely and empathetic, really the only person that I met who knew what I was through was Sean Hossman, because he was also an addict. He also had dealt with all the nonsense. So it's not a lack of empathy, it's a lack of understanding. So there need to be more people who understand, not just so that they can talk to the people who are incarcerated, but so they can talk to the guards and they can talk to the employers who don't necessarily understand and can teach the people who have graduated from the program how to interact with potential employers or people that they're trying to talk to get
Yeah.
Somebody has to be a stopgap so that there's somebody to go to when you don't know how to handle something when reacclimating. And there were very few people when I got out that could be that resource, that were willing to pick up a phone or come speak to a class, who really understood where I had been. And so my goal, as much as I can, is to be that for somebody else.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
From a volunteer standpoint, you have volunteered with us, Jessica, in numerous capacities, even before I was a volunteer manager, right? You've been volunteering with us from the start, from being a guest speaker to being a mentor in so many ways. And so I definitely do think you actively give back all the time. And the way I would love to close this out is, and we ask this of everyone, what words of advice would you pass on to someone who is currently in a similar position that you were in all those years ago, who don't believe that there's a real future that could be waiting for them?
Um, Never burn a bridge. Whoever you talk to, get them on LinkedIn, get their email, get their phone number, get whatever the way they're willing to contact you, and keep that resource. Don't expect your path to go the way you expect it to, because it's not. Um, you're going to have adversity. You're going to have people that shut the door in your face. You might end up in a field that you don't expect. That's happened to a couple of us. It's not going to go the way you expect. That does not mean the path is going to be bad. And don't ever hide it when you're having a hard time. It's really easy to fall back into bad behavior. Am lucky and blessed enough that I've been clean for 7 years, but that isn't always the case for everybody, and that's okay. If you have a hard time, if you hit a rough patch, that doesn't mean all that's good is gone. It means that you hit a rough patch, and that's okay. Just reach out and keep moving forward.
I
Well, I
love
think,
that.
yeah, a perfect way to end. And Jessica, we are just so grateful once again that you are giving us your time for this interview today and for being featured as one of our voices of Persevere. Truly, without the voices of the people in our program, our goal, and Jake and I have talked about this numerous times, is just to really be storytellers for people who are okay with having their story told, right? We want to change perceptions. We want this to just be something that can help change a mind, right? So we just really appreciate your time today.
Happy to be here.
Yes. And are there any closing remarks from you, Jake?
I'm honored to be able to visit with Jessica. Your story gives me hope. And I think that that is a perfect way to communicate that. I wish that not only that more people would have success in reentry, but would have the mindset that you have about giving back. It would just change the world. So thank you for what you do tremendously.
Happy to help.
And Jessica, is there anywhere, and if not, you can say, Emma, take this out, but we always try to ask people too. Is there anywhere people can find you, connect with you, or anything that you want to put out there? I don't know if you're working on anything or anything along those lines. Just we're happy to put the plug out.
I will say that if anybody wants to reach me, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm
LinkedIn.
happy to connect with anybody that needs a network, that needs somebody to talk to, that just needs someone to bounce ideas off of. I'm always
Wonderful.
around.
Well, thank you so much. And for everyone tuning in, thank you. Thank you. If you want to learn more, you can visit perseverenow.org. That is perseverenow.org. And of course, follow us on our different social platforms. You can find us at Persevere, Persevere Now, and those will also be listed on our website. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time.